What happens when your church gets a new computer, but you're reusing the old keyboard? And the old keyboard is from the other operating system. Well, stick around and find out. Presented by Church Tech U, it's the ProPresenter show. On today's show, what to do when you have the wrong keyboard on your ProPresenter computer. Hi, and welcome again to the ProPresenter show. This is the show where I teach all about ProPresenter. My name's Paul Allen Clifford. And before we get started, if you've ever had, let's say, a Mac Mini but used a Windows keyboard, or maybe you like the old keyboard but your church switched over to Windows and so you stuck with the Apple Magic keyboard, tell me about it in the comments below. So this actually is a result of me going to the church that I go to now. So we've got a Mac Studio, and we've got a keyboard that is like this, one of these. I actually don't know that it's this exact one. This is an HP that I had that I use for like whenever I've got a Raspberry Pi or something like that. But it's a keyboard very much like this. But I'm a Mac guy, and we're using a Mac. So initially it was a little confusing to me because there are a few keys that ProPresenter references that are not on this keyboard. And so I thought, well, maybe I should make something so that we have, like, you know, a little cheat sheet. So that's exactly what I did. Stick around, I'll tell you how to get that. But in the meantime, I thought that I would tell you real quick, drop my keyboard there, tell you real quick how to go from a Windows keyboard using that with a Mac, or vice versa. I don't think the second is going to be as common, but you never know. It does happen. So I've got a little checklist I'm going to allow you to get at the end, but let me just go through some of these real quickly. First off, one thing that's helpful is control is control is control. Now what I mean by that is if ProPresenter is asking for the control key, doesn't matter if you hit that on a Mac, doesn't matter if you hit that on a Windows keyboard, it's going to be control. So across the board, for example, if we go into the ProPresenter interface, these controls right here, show, edit, reflow, Bible, just Control S, it will take you into show mode. Control E will take you into the editor. Control R will take you into reflow editor, and Control B will take you into the Bible. And that's the way that it is across the board. Mac or Windows, it's all the same. So that's good news. Then it becomes a little more complicated. So I do have some notes. And this is in my testing. So I connected this keyboard to my Mac, and I found out that the Windows key works for the command key. So if you're like, well, I'm used to working with the Mac, I want to do command to select multiple slides, for example, but not necessarily a range of slides, just in a different order, then just use the Windows key instead of command. So anything that you would normally use CMD for, or it kind of looks like one of those interchanges that we have on the highway, at least here in the US, where it like loops around. So kind of looks like that. Either way, the Windows key will work for that. If you need to hold down the Option key, well, that's Alt. on the Windows keyboard. So those are the three main ones. One other that this keyboard had that I don't know off the top of my head if all Windows keyboards have them, is there was a little icon that looked like a list. If you click on that, that's like right-clicking. So that's just something that's helpful for you to know, is if you're on a Mac but you have a Windows keyboard, basically think the Windows key is the command key, the Alt key is the Option key, and if you have a rectangle with like lines in it, that is just like right-clicking on the slide. Speaking of right-clicking, if you are on a Mac, it is possible that right-click is disabled. So, if that's the case, go into System Settings, and then after that you go to Trackpad or Mouse, depending on which is connected at that point, and go to Secondary Click. I would have called it right-click, whatever. They call it Secondary Click, and turn that on. There are a few options depending on whether you're using a mouse or a trackpad, but the one that I use for my trackpad is the click with two fingers option. So just in case anytime I've said right click, you're like, well, it just doesn't work. I don't know how his Mac is working. Well, that's how. You just have to make sure secondary click is turned on. So I've had people in my in-person classes that are like, yeah, I'm on a Mac and I can't right click. Well, that's why. That's just something that you need to turn on if it's not turned on. So that's something that is important as well. Finally, if you are on a Mac but you're using a keyboard like this or the bigger one that has the numeric keypad here on this side, maybe it's got the touch ID key on it instead of this one, which is older. I do have one of those over there. But let's say that you're using that with a Windows computer. An important thing to know is the keyboard shortcuts in Windows for ProPresenter do not include the Windows key. So basically, Control is Control, so that stays the same. The only thing that you need to know is that Option is Alt. So anytime you're doing a keyboard shortcut, if you would do Alt, you do Option instead. So that's pretty straightforward. The Windows key is basically, or well, it would be Command on this that would do the stuff that the Windows key would, but that wouldn't be within ProPresenter itself. That would be in Windows. So those are just a few of the little things that you need to know about the differences between a Windows keyboard on a Mac and a Mac keyboard on Windows when you're dealing with ProPresenter. Now, in the past I've told you that I have a ProPresenter Quick Start course, and I still do. But what I've done for this particular tutorial is I've made just a quick cheat sheet that you can download and print up and maybe just hang near your ProPresenter machine for people that aren't familiar with each one. So if you were to go to tdm.fyi/pro-gifts, GIFTS, I'm going to have a list of things that you can download with this and other tutorials, including this keyboard cheat sheet. So head on over there, tell me where to send it, and you can get your keyboard cheat sheet for absolutely free. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford from TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechU.com, reminding you to go out and change eternity.